So I'm doing a kind of an early morning review of a film that I watched last night because I wanted to talk about it while it's still fresh in my brain because I'm not 100% sure about this one. And the person who recommended it, well, let me give you a hint. Longtime Maniac. Do you know who it is? Let's find out. Okay, if you haven't figured it out by now, the longtime maniac that recommended this film was Matt Murdock. Of course, I didn't. I know it's more than Matt Murdock. I think it's just Matt Murdock. But um, he recommended a Mohanlal film from 2000 called Devadoothan, which roughly translated means heavenly messenger. And it was I don't have the director. I want to do justice to this film. Why didn't I write down the director? I can't believe I didn't do that. But let's see. I'll get to it quick. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Directed by Sibi Malayil. And let's see. Oh, he directed Baratham. No, I didn't see Baratham. I saw the other one with. That's not the one I saw. Let's see. Have I seen anything? I don't recognize. Nope. I don't think I've seen anything. It stars Mohanlal, a very different Mohanlal, I have to say. Who I've seen you guys, and I've seen a bunch of his stuff. Spadikam, Drishyam 3, recently L2 Empuran. Um, Vijayalakshmi, Jayaprada, Gerard Danan, and Vaneeth Kumar. Now, unless I'm mistaken, the rest of the cast, I have not seen them in anything. And this was a, I can't, I can't really qualify this as a horror film. It's really not a horror film. It's more of a psychological thriller. I guess that's the best title for this. So before I get to the review, let's do some Maniac movie factoids. Now, there weren't a lot for this, but here's just a few. Mohanlal, who was a righty, played his role as a lefty for some reason. I don't really know why he did that, but he did. This film won, it was not a very successful film in initial release, but it did win the Kerala State Film Award for Best Film. The composer, and I never mention the composers usually, unless it's R. Rahman. I mention him, but the music in this, the score for the film was really good, and it was Vidya Sagar, who also did Anbe Savam, which I reviewed. This film was deemed ahead of its time because of the combination of horror, mystery, and music. And at first, I thought it was going to be musical, the way it starts, especially. And here's the thing about this film: it became a commercial success on re-release, and it was the highest at the time, the highest grossing re-release in Indian films. And finally, Vaneeth Kumar, who plays Maheshwar. Um, there's a scene in this film where dogs attack him. Well, apparently he got bit and was for the rest of his life terrified of dogs. And there were a lot of people that weren't happy. The cast was not happy about what happened to him in the scene, and we'll talk about that. But that's it. There really wasn't a lot on this film. It's a Malayalam film, obviously. So let's get right to the review. Okay, so this film was this film. I'm of two minds of this film because I have to tell you, there were points in this film where I phased out. I didn't fall asleep. Wow, the sun just came out, and look at that background. It's like heavenly, heavenly intervention. But I definitely lost where I was at certain points in this film. It's a very slow burn. I will say that I thought the second half of the film picked up, and it was still it was a little bit confusing what was happening. I'm not going to lie, it was. Now, having said that, there were things about this I really liked. Like Mohanlal, I've never quite seen him like this. And in fact, I will tell you this: the opening scene. Well, let's talk about the story. The story is about this composer, Vishal, played by Mohanlal, who at the beginning of the film is receiving this music world award. He's a famous composer, and at one point during this press conference, there's a picture on the wall of this instrument. He doesn't say what the instrument is called, but the thing they call it throughout the film is the seven bells. Now, I don't know if that's the name of this instrument. So if you do know, let me know in the comment section. But it's a drawn picture of this instrument. Then the camera zooms in, then you see the real instrument, and now there's a flashback. So what happened to this composer was 8 years previous, he was kicked out of college. You don't really know why at first. So this is the flashback of how. Wait a minute, my timeline's wrong. It wasn't 8 years earlier. The flashback goes back to 8 years after he was kicked out. That's what it was. Because there's flashbacks within flashbacks within flashbacks in this film. That's why some of it was a little hard to follow. So now the story picks up in the flashback where his college brings him back to the college he was kicked out of, to direct and compose for a play that they are putting on. So he wants to come back, I think, a little bit for revenge against the woman who kicked him out. But there's supernatural reasons why he comes back to the school to direct this play, because the play ends up being the woman who kicked him out's story and her lover. So the and that's so it's them trying to solve why this is happening. And she was in love with this guy, Marshwar, who was blind. And they were supposed to get married. The father didn't want them to get married. He disappeared, never to be seen from again. She's been trying to find out what happened to him. And the movie really is about the solving of what happened to him, being prodded by supernatural forces. And this was not a scary horror type movie. It was, the word I would use is unsettling and maybe even a little creepy. These things that happen in the movie are just a little bit. There's not a lot of jump scares. There are, but misdirection jump scares where someone freaks out, but it's just somebody they know walking into a room. So it's not like that, but there is a feeling of like dread. There's a couple scenes in the forest when all this smoke is all over the place. You don't know what's going on. Really great cinematography, too, that added to the creepiness. There's a couple of POV shots of dogs chasing after people through hallways, but it's kind of skewered. It's not like just a straight shot. That was really, yeah, again, unsettling. So here's the thing. The first 7 minutes, there's no dialogue. That's why I was like, I did not know that was Mohanlal. The opening scene is the first song in the film, and it's a great scene. And it's a scene, and now I'm going to talk about it in the music section, but I like to call out the great scenes. And the opening was this big orchestra conducted by Mohanlal or Vishwal, but I didn't know it was him. It just didn't look like him. He had a full beard. This is 2000, so he was young. He wasn't as, he's a beefy guy. He wasn't quite as beefy as that, but the way they shot the orchestra, the music, it was really an incredible opening number, and it went on for a while. Beautifully shot. So I really love that as the first great scene within the film. So that's when it tees up the awards. Now he goes back to the school, and things start happening. Tape recorders start on their own. Musical instruments start playing without anybody there. They keep referring to a song called Black Memories, which I didn't quite understand the reference, but they brought it up a lot. And then what happens is the play he's directing, he starts changing dialogue. He starts changing names of characters, like he's not possessed, but there's something, he's doing it involuntary. Well, because the play represents the woman and the blind lover's life kind of playing out in this play. Now he doesn't quite know that yet, but he's starting to change things. He's fighting with actors. He does scenes with the leading actress, the young student. What's her name? Saya. Snia. Who's kind of good in this too. I liked her in this, and so that keeps going on. So all this stuff keeps happening, and then ultimately the payoff is, and again, this is a spoiler, but it's a 2000 film, so if you haven't seen it, I mean, you had your shot. There's a skeleton that's at the college, and he's trying to figure out if the skeleton is Marshwar. And at one point, the skeleton hand, like he's hallucinating stuff too, or he's getting visions. And at one point, it was creepy. The skeleton hand just comes up like that in front of the camera, right in front of his face. It was really ooh. And then he figures out that the lover got his fingers cut off because he finds a little slash mark on this seven bell instrument. So that comes into play later on. Now there's another flashback to what happened to Marshwar. Marshwar. And you find out that the father had his fingers cut off and had him buried alive. And that's the scene. And another great scene, although I can't call it great, but as I'm watching, I'm going, how did they do this? Because the dogs attack this blind. Now, I will say this: the blind guy running away to save his life in this forest, and then through these fields with trees and all this stuff. I was like, really? The guy's blind. He'd be smashing into stuff, right? I didn't really buy that, but the dog attack was pretty scary. And it wasn't like they showed the dogs biting him or anything like that, but they swarmed him. And he's screaming and he's calling Alina, Alina. He's calling out her name. And that led to the father getting hurt, which is a whole nother thing. But so ultimately, and the other great, there's a few other great scenes before I get to the very ending. Okay, the first time he plays this instrument, this seven bell instrument, was a real, the way they shot it, the way he apprehensively walks up to it. But it was a long scene, and then he finally ends up playing it. And that's when it alerts the woman who kicked him out of school. Why is anybody playing this? That's why he got kicked out in the first place, for playing that back 8 years ago. Okay? So, but the way they shot that was really neat. The other cool scene, there was two cool scenes in the forest. And it's the first one was the most atmospheric because he's walking through this forest. And I know why they do this. And there's a big fight scene. And because they want to be, what do they call it? Masala, right? They want it to be for everyone. And you want Mohanlal in a fight scene. And it was a pretty good fight scene. Was it, did it fit with the film? No, it didn't. And they probably could have cut it out and it would have mattered. But the way it was shot, with the smoke and the angles and this like bleak forest, I really liked it. It was so atmospheric. So that was a really good scene too. And then the final scene where Alina goes to the room where the skeleton is at because she's being called to it almost. Because Maheshwar wants to be with her. So now Vishwal is trying to save her. So he's going up these stairs. All of a sudden, fire starts bursting everywhere up the staircase. Flame balls are starting to shoot out at him while he's trying to get to her. Every time he gets close, he gets thrown over a ledge. He goes up a drain pipe. The drain pipe falls off the wall. That was a cool scene. And then at one point, she's looking at the skeletal hand, and it dissolves into a real hand. Now, as Vishwal and Snina at the bottom of the stairs, the room that they're in blows up, explodes. And then what you see two doves fly away, meaning they're finally together. And birds play a big role in this film, okay? Every time something bad happens, there's birds there. or every time there's a supernatural thing, the birds are there. So in the end, they end up together. Now, I read reviews on this, and there are two schools of thought. One, they're finally together, Alina and Marshwar. Beautiful end to a love story, right? The second one, which I don't see, is Vashwal achieved his revenge on her. I don't really buy that one. I buy the first one. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but I love that ending. Um, so that was pretty cool. And then fine, let's see, anything else? No, that's it. So that's the story, and I liked the story. I thought the story was pretty good. I gave the story a 7. Again, horror, mystery, thriller, and the music, which I really liked in this film. And I'm not, me, I'm not huge on the music, and it was the incidental music that I really liked. The musical numbers were okay, but the incidental music, and I can't even say there were musical numbers. It wasn't like Bollywood, as Malayalam films aren't usually. Um, but the performances, look, it's Mohanlal's film, and it's also, I will say, Alina, played by Jayaprada. She was good too, because she goes through a lot in this film where when he comes back to the school, she's upset because she's the one that kicked him out, and she's really upset when he starts playing the instrument. But then she starts to see some of what's going on, and she feels bad about what happened to him, that she kind of ruined his life up to that point. And then at the end, she's all in on getting reunited with her lover. So, and the young girl, the student, she was good. The principal was okay. There was another guy, Alberto, who I think is like a caretaker there. He was complicit in killing but he gets his in the end in a quicksand, not quicksand, but a swamp or something where he drowns. But it was Mohanlal's performance, because it was just, I found it so different from anything that I've seen him in. Even his older stuff like Spadikam, where he was a little bit younger than this. It was just a different role for him, where I always find him, and this isn't a criticism. I want to make that clear, because I've seen enough of his stuff to know how versatile he can be. But I do find him a little one note in a lot of his later films. Even though I liked him, like El Empuran, I really liked it, but he was pretty one note. He's not like that in this. It's a more naturalistic, a more realistic performance that I really liked. And the funny thing was, when he was composing, when he's leading the orchestra, you kind of buy into it. Even when he's playing at the keyboard, and I assume he couldn't really play. Now, and there was nothing, I looked everything up. There was nothing to tell me one way or the other, but he looked like he was really playing. So he was committed to it. And I know they didn't want him originally. They wanted Madhavan. And I think he was originally cast, but he had a scheduling conflict. And then Mohanlal heard about it and wanted to do it. And it was nice to see him do something like this. So I thought the performances were solid. I gave them a 7. Now, as far as the music, and it opens, like I mentioned, the first 5 minutes is a musical number through the credits. And it was great. I mean, that was the opening scene in the film, was the first song. It's a big orchestra. And again, the way they shot it was really interesting. The music was great. The second song, and this is why I say they weren't quite musical numbers. They're rehearsing for his show. So there's a song within the show, and it's a duet. And then it's kind of a montage of the rehearsal. So it wasn't like just a number just to do a number. It fit in the context of it. And it was pretty good. The third song was, they're at the cemetery, Alina and Vishal. Vishal, excuse me, I say Vishal. It's Vishal. And after they go to the cemetery, it's kind of a montage of the aftermath as they both start to figure out what's going on with the spirit world. So that was kind of neat. Now, the fourth song was a flashback within the flashback of Alina and her lover, Mashwar, kind of explaining their backstory and then what ultimately happened to him. And then the fifth song, which is a reprise of the first song, kind of built the same way. So they started and ended kind of the same way, and I thought it was really good. Now, the thing, and that music was okay, but the score of the film was what I really really liked because it was creepy. The particular song that was playing on the Seven Bells was just, again, I'm going to use the word unsettling. You know, there's a scene where he's listening to his music on a reel to reel tape recorder, and it's his song, and he's like this, you know, right? All of a sudden it pauses, then it starts playing this creepy music, and maybe that's Black Memories, maybe that's what the song is, and he stops and is listening to it, right? Well, that song plays throughout the movie, and then every time there was any kind of spiritual thing, any kind of otherworld thing, this music was just like, oh my god, it was just, again, creepy, unsettling. But I loved the music in this. I thought the music was fantastic. I gave the music an 8. Really, really good. Now, my final verdict of the film, I can't, I have to give it a 7. I can't give it anything higher than a 7 for this reason. There were times in the film where I just faded off, and it wasn't a long film. I think it was 2 hours and 20 minutes. But I definitely, you know, I was like, I had to rewind it. Okay. I had to back up and go, I go, what did I miss? What did I miss? That doesn't usually happen. It did happen in this. So I really can't give it anything higher than a 7, but it was different. And if you like that kind of thing, I think you'll like this movie. If you like Mohanlal, and a lot of you do, I think you'll like this. It was so different. Now, again, I say different. He's got a huge body of work, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of performances like this. But of the films that I've seen, it was really different. And I think that's why I liked it. I like seeing these actors do stuff that you normally don't see them do. Because a lot of them I see in their, you know, the last 4 years, right? So it's films within the last 10 years. And that's very different than 2000 or in the 90s. So when you see something like this, you know, it's nice to see that. So that's what I think about that film. Let me know if you've seen it, what you thought about it in the comment section, and do me a favor. As you know, we're trying to hit 4,000, and it's weird because right now I'm at 3,840 subscribers. Then it goes 8,830. Then it goes back to 40. Then it goes back to 30. So someone is subscribing and unsubscribing. You're playing head games with me. I don't like it. Anyway, subscribe, hit the notification button, hit the like button, and please share. Give a like, give a comment. Doesn't cost you anything. Means a lot to the channel. Okay? That's it. We'll talk to you soon on John Talks Indian Cinema with another movie review, a trailer reaction, or a song reaction. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.